is the head. If you've written code in C, you do like include stdio.h, include this one, this, that. So this is to initialize how your HTML should behave and how it should render, how it should be compatible to your browser. So these are basically your tags. So this is on the head element. Your meta here, UTF-8. UTF-8 is a character set. So kanina lang guys, this is just a rundown. Like, do not rack your brains over it. This is just conventional lang, all very conventional. The main part is on the body na. Okay, so this is just for the char set, character set, in order for you to use basically all characters existing, a lot of characters existing right now, including emojis. Okay, you can actually write emojis. And then here is, this is the meta tag for it to understand that it should be compatible with my browser, which is Edge. That's my default browser. Next is this one. Like initial scale should be 1.0. That's the zoom level when it should render. So it's 1. And then how the page should render on the browser. Like it should be on the screen size, basically on what device you are working on. If you're in mobile, if you're in tablet, then render the width similar to that. And next is the title. So this is what you see in your tab. So I'm going to run this. Hopefully it runs. So what I'm going to do is to hit live server here. You can also go Control Shift and P and then search for live server and then open with live server. So live server allows us to render HTML without like having to refresh the browser. So once you change the code, it immediately changes in the browser without even like you refreshing like crazy. Okay, so I'm going to shift my layout to something like this so that it's a lot easier for you guys to see. Okay. Okay. How to open in Chrome? You can just open in. You can go to your. It will immediately open in your default browser. Is Chrome your default browser? Yeah, so it should open in Chrome. Control Shift and P. And then choose live server. If you do not have live server installed, then you can right click here and then open with. Or you can even go to your file system, find that file, and then click this one, like open. Okay, it's just the same. So just find where you save the file and then open it from there. You can even right click and then choose the browser that you want, Firefox, Google Chrome, or some other app. Okay, so we're going to go back here in the live server version. So like if I type some random gibberish here, it immediately renders in the browser without me having to even refresh. It's also important that you turned autosave on here in your VS Code. So is everything clear pa ba, guys? Am I not going too fast? Is everything understandable? Okay. Is everything good ba? Please type, guys, in the chat box if goods pa ba, if naka-follow pa ba, because please also don't be shy to ask questions. If you're afraid of like asking in the public like chat, you can directly PM any one of us. Okay, so thank you guys for the feedback. Wow, we're a teacher. Thank you guys for the feedback. Okay, so what we're going to be making is, let's say, a blog site, diba? Say blog site. So first, um, let's say element is the heading. That's basically like probably the most common element you can see. So headings has 6 types, H1 to H6. H1 being the biggest, H6 being the smallest. So I'm going to choose H1 and I'm going to name it, So I'm going to write a blog about, so kita mo tong Fandre, if you've seen katong Spy X Family, Spy Family, whatever you want to, however you want to pronounce it. So they released a new episode. So let's say I'm going to talk about that. Okay, so immediately it renders here. So instead of app, I'm just going to write episode. Okay, so there's that. So H1 largest. So if we like compare it to an H6, for example, okay, if you can see guys, H6 is really small compared to H1. Okay, so next type of element is a paragraph. So a paragraph is basically, I mean, it's a paragraph. Okay, so I'm going to write a paragraph using the P tag. So to write a paragraph, you need to use the P tag. That's it. Diba? It's very, diba? Simple, easy lang kay guys. So I'm going to say by Jury Kevin Cluster. Okay. You can also combine elements in like a line. Like you can place another element inside of this P inside of this paragraph. So I'm going to place EM. EM is basically, oops. EM is basically emphasis. So italicize. So this should be italic. Okay, di ba? I'm going to zoom in the browser. So it's now italic. EM. You can even make it bold by using strong. Di ba? Okay. So I'm going to make it italicized lang. Okay. Aesthetic. Next is a link. Okay, this is also very by the way guys, HTML is a really large set, like collection of libraries. So I think we cannot cover everything. We won't cover everything. We're going to cover what's really very very common throughout the industry, because these elements, as I think Brian, Lex, me could attest, as well as Dave. These are the very common elements that we use at work. H1, P, very repetitive elements. Okay, next, we have the A tag, which is for the link. Okay, so this is a link. Let's say I want to link it to my LinkedIn. So visit my LinkedIn here, diba? And then I'm going to go to my LinkedIn. And I'm going to copy the link to this one. Okay. And then paste it in the href. Okay. So href, okay. Href is an attribute. So it's an attribute of the link element. So basically attributes are like, what you're going to pass into attributes are properties that would help the link element do its function. So by passing my URL to my LinkedIn, I could tell the link element na, hey, link me to this URL. Link me when the user clicks this, link me to his LinkedIn. So if I click here, then I'm immediately redirected to my own LinkedIn profile. Diba? So we'll go back lang. So there's that. So basically H1 headings, P for paragraph, EM emphasis, A for links. Okay, so far so good, di ba? Next is an image, di ba? Ano like for example sa blogs, they have the title, like it's written by this, that. Here's the social media links, and then there's a really large image here, like a banner. So what you're going to, the tag there is image. So if you notice, there are two attributes for image: src, which is the source, and alt, which is alternate. Is this the text when it will not render? Like for example, have you tried taking a quiz on Canvas and then the picture won't load? And then you're going to see a text there na equation 1, or probably house, or probably molecules. So that's actually the alt. Okay, so we're going to search lang. We can search for image naman. SpyX probably F30. Okay, we'll try to choose, okay, for example, this one. And then, so right click, copy link, copy image link, and then you can go here and then paste it in the src. And then I'm going to write for the alt, Anya na lang. Okay. So if you noticed, all right, there's a really large picture of Anya there. Okay. Okay. So image img, that's the tag that we're going to use. So if you've noticed, the image tag doesn't actually have its own closing tag. So these elements are called self-closing elements. They do not need any closing tag to be useful. Okay, compared to, let's say, H1, you really need to have a closing tag because you are defining a content inside it. But the content for the image is already defined in the attribute, which is why this is self-closing. Next, di ba? Easy lang. Next is another heading, di ba? It's a blog. So what was the episode about? Okay, if you've noticed, it's a lot smaller than H1. Okay, because it's an H2. And then I'm going to write a paragraph, sample paragraph, lorem. So if you type lorem, that's a dummy text. You can even double it, like lorem again. So that's dummy text for you to have content. Okay, like immediately it looks like I know what I'm writing, right? And then yeah, so far so good. We have only used repetitive elements lang. And then last but not the least is a form. Okay, so contact us, contact me, contact the other person. So if you notice, it doesn't have any style. It doesn't have any design. That comes in CSS na. So is Lex here na ba? Zach?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Okay. I'm going to ano. So for example, this is how I like to picture out websites, guys. There's actually an element called div, because what a div does is to separate, in programming, it's best to separate your concerns. For example, if I want a style only specific to my header, it's best that I separate it from the others, so that I am sure that the others won't be affected by what I'm going to write for my header. So it's better if you've separated a content that you have, that you want to style, that you want to isolate using divs. So a div is just like that, div, div. And then you place that, like example, from H1 to the image. So I'm going to place a div there. Okay, and then, okay, so it's formatted now. So I'm going to place a div there to identify that it is its own section. Diba? So I could then apply styles to this div. I could make the text red without affecting any of the text. I could make this image a lot smaller without affecting the other images in my page. So a div has an attribute called a class. So a class a class is what you target in your CSS. So if you want to style a certain element, so this is not only applicable for divs, huh? If you want to style a certain element, you can target it from its class. So I'm going to name this class with a name that is also meaningful. So like, do not name it like example for the name of your crush. So please don't do that, guys. No, name it with a meaningful name. Meaningful name. So since this is a header, I'm going to name it blog-header. So do not place any space, guys. You can also use two classes at the same time for one element by using a space. Like for example, if I want this class to be blog header as well as blog main, something like that. So I'm going to hit space and then blog main. So I could style this div using either blog header or blog main. Or if they have different stylings, then it would apply to this entire div. Okay. For how did you for it? Format okay. So to format it, you just hit Control Shift P and then format document. Like, so I think it's formatted now for me. Control Shift P. So if you have a hard time, guys, looking for your extensions, they're just in Control Shift P. So it's just there. Okay, so far so good ba? Guys, can you type in the chat box? Yeah, okay, nice. Is it still understandable? Like, have you followed ba what I'm still doing? So recap. I have a div for my header because I separated my header. I do not want other stuff affecting it. I then have an H1 for my heading, a paragraph for my name, and then an A tag for a link to my LinkedIn, an image tag with an SRC attribute for the link of the image, as well as an alternate text for the image. I then have another H2 and then a paragraph. That's it. Okay. So next, it's also good to actually you have these HTML semantics. So divs are good, but when you are defining a certain section, it's a lot more readable to name that element as on how it functions. Like, for example, instead of a div, I could use a header tag. And then I'm going to replace the closing. So header, how is this different from a div? I mean, they're basically the same. That's still its own section. It's just that this is a lot more readable. Like when I'm going to send this code to Brian or to Zach, when they're going to look at this, they're going to immediately decipher that this is the header, this is the footer, this is a section, this is an article. So HTML semantics, you have headers, you have article, you have section, you have footer, and you have nav. So I'm going to repeat. You have header, you have a nav, for navigation. And then you have the article for, let's say you have an article, and then you have a section. So this functions like a div. You can still style this like a div. You can still add classes to it, but it's just that they're a lot more easy to read in HTML. Excuse me for recorded. Recorded, Nizak? Yeah, okay, it's recorded. And then nav, and then you have footer. Yeah, so that's HTML semantics. Next is the form. Okay, so let's go to the form. It's the form is also a very important part of HTML. So below, I want to name this header actually blog header. So class blog dash header. And then for this one, I'm going to make it the footer. So footer. And then copy this class blog. I contact me na lang, contact me. And then paste. Okay. So you have the footer, contact me, and then we have this one. No. The footer is for the form. So this is a div lang day, guys. So div with a class of blog content. So this is your actual content for the blog. So you can use an article, you can use a section, but for me, I'm going to use div for the sake of ano lang, to have a demo on how it works. And then for my footer, so this is where the footer comes in. I'm going to have a class of contact me. So next is the form. So a form is basically a form, like Google Forms. Diba? So this is how you're going to define a form. Now let me format it quick. So form, you have the action. Do not bother with the action first because you need a backend for the action. Of course, you can like write some basic actions where it will redirect to, let's say, your Outlook, Microsoft, but that method is, I think it's not really ideal. It's not it's not even used in industry. So I recommend na you just disregard lang what the action means here. So basically, action is get or maybe post. You post data, or you can get data. Okay. So how are you going to do the form? First is forms. They have the anatomy of having, diba, forms. They're usually like a label. Wow, my label. I know all. And then you have an input right there. Okay, so label, input, not all. And then, so that's also what you're going to do. So you define your label. Of course, guys, do not work without labels. Ay, nako. So a label has attributes also. For what? Label for what? So first name, di ba? Let's say you want to let your crush fill up the form. So label for first name. F name. I recommend na you only like do. You could also be really explicit on how you're going to name it. For me, I can immediately decipher that this is first name. And then I'm going to write name. Okay, there's that. And then next is the input. So the input is also has its input tag. So you can see its type, text, name, and ID. You can omit ID. You can use classes for that. ID is for JavaScript. So just don't mind ID. So this is type text. And then the name is also F name. So if you can see here, we have a form here. So I could type Jury, Kevin, something like that. Okay. Next. Speaking English in the past. Next, another label. Wow, another label. Label 4. password. Okay, when you're doing a contact us, you don't actually ask for the password. This is just for demo purposes. So password, password, and then password right there. Okay. And then input again, but this time the type isn't text, password. So that's the type for your password. And then name, you could also name it password. So if you notice, I could type like password and you can't see it. It's in password format. Okay. That's the forms for HTML, but we're not done there. You can see that this is not formatted really well. So you could use a BR. So a BR is basically break. Wow, break na sila. Okay. So a break is to basically similar to your enter in the keyboard. So it basically says na when the code reaches to this part, hey, create a new line and then render the content from there. That's break. Yeah. Take a break. Next type of input. Let's place another view. And if you notice, this is also self-closing. Okay, because it's just the purpose is just to create a break. So no need for any extra stuff. So next is a radio. So let's say we want the customer or the client to rate the episode, diba? I want the client to rate the episode if it's good or bad. So I'm going to place input. I'm okay. Let's place label first. Label for let's say high, and then this is ano lang, V good. So V good. This is very good. Label. And then I'm going to place an input. This time, since I only want one choice from the user, I'm going to use a radio button. Okay, so radio, type radio. And then the name would be rating. Okay, very good. But this is not actually the format for your radio buttons. It's usually the radio button first and then the very good. So what you're going to do is to swap. So instead of the label coming first, we're going to swap the position. So I'm going to put spaces lang, guys, for you to see which exactly element I'm currently working on. Okay, okay, there. This is the label now. Next, I'm going to duplicate this. And then this is still radio. This is still rating. And then instead of very good, I'm going to name it bad. And then this one is also bad. Okay. Notice that the name is the same because that's radio buttons. Like if you have a radio button here and the name for this is X, the name for this is Y, these are basically different sets. So for you to have a single set of radio buttons for a single set of prompt, you should name this both X. If it's X and Y, you could select X and you could select Y because they're different. They're entirely, HTML interprets them as entirely different radio buttons. So if you want to have a single input, like if I click on X and then I click on Y, X will be removed. Then I need to name this, instead of Y, I need to name this X. So which is why I'm also naming this one rating as well as this one rating. Diba? So if I click bad, then the bad is removed if I click on very good. Yeah, simple lang kayo guys. So BR to have the very nice format. Okay. Okay, we're almost done with the basics, no? Last is the text area. So text area. So the name of the text area. So this is the text area, guys. You've noticed that when you're writing essays on Canvas, that's the text area. You could make the text area really large. You could set this to 50, and then the rows would be, let's say, 30. So it makes it really big. You could name it also review, something like that. And then I'm going to place a BR there for readability. Okay. So you can place anything you want. Next is how you're going to submit this form. You're going to use an input again, but this time the type is submit. So input type, submit. And then the name would be, I mean the value would be submit. So how do I know this, guys? How do I know everything I'm writing? That's because I already have a copy. But I really encourage you guys to Google. No, you cannot get this from the top of your brain, on the top of your head. You need to know how to search. Like if HTML forms, that's really easy to search. Boom, you have a list of all the elements that you want. Like these are even like 10% of the input elements for a form. There are a lot. Like when I go for IntelliSense, you can see input button, checkbox, color, date, datetime local, email, file, hidden, image, month. Like there's so many elements, guys. But what we're teaching now is elements that you commonly see in HTML and CSS. HTML there. Okay. So any questions for the basic introduction for the elements? So please, we're going to pause and then I'm going to continue with our project. For styling, Lex will teach you about it. So I'm going to write the after this open forum, quite a bit lang. I'm going to write the HTML for the project and then Lex will show the CSS. So any questions, guys? Input and label difference. Label is basically to guide the user on what to place on the input. Okay. Label is a guide for the user on what to place on the input. So if the label is first name, and then there's an input box right next to it, you should write the first name. So there's that. Another question, copy of this recording, Zach? Okay. So any questions, guys? Scroll. Going back to this one. Which has to be up, label or input? It depends because for this name, text, input and label, if you can see, label comes first before the input. But for radio buttons, the radio comes first before the label. The input comes first before the label. How do you move a button? Okay, that's for CSS. This is just HTML. HTML, guys, is just your content. You could do styling in CSS. So there's actually an inline CSS, but that's not actually recommended. So you could say style color, and then I'm going to set this to red. So if you can see what was the episode about, it's red. But please don't do this. It's recommended that you use an external style sheet for that, and then link it, which of course we'll show you in the next couple of after this open forum. Yeah. So content purely HTML. So I'm going to remove this to avoid any confusion why I placed it there. Okay. So let's move on. I'm going to show you the project that we're going to do together. Wow. No. Together. Okay, go live. So I'm going to close this. Okay, so this is the project that we're going to do. This is an NFT card that, oh, okay. This is a really nice UI by Front-End Mentor. And the link for that. Okay, so please download the starter files, which I'm going to, wait lang, let me copy the link. Where's the chat? Oh, shit. Wait lang ah. Where's the share? Copy link. So that's the starter files for this. No, it's the final joke. So it's the starter. We need the starter. So not that, guys. No, this one, the one I'm spamming right now. That's the current starter. Okay. Please download that. Of course, we're going to send you the final also, so that you can have a copy, as well as this one. I'm going to upload this later. Okay, so to introduce our NFT project, I'm going to close this now because it's not really this one. So this is our NFT project. Okay. So I'm going to open a new folder from the starter. So GDSC starter. Okay. So this is what we're going to copy. Okay. I'm going to wait for you guys to download it muna so that we can have a. So this is also the challenge at the end of this session. I want you guys to customize this to your liking, diba? Change the colors, change the image, change whatever content you like. You can make this a lot bigger, a lot smaller. You could incorporate your creativity with it, and then feature it on the Discord, and we'll feature it on the page. Okay, pasend ko link balik please. Okay, there's the link. Okay. No probs. So let us have a rundown of the assets. So first we have a PNG. So this is the icon actually. Like when you hover on it, there's the icon. Next, we have SVGs for the logo. And then we have here our image of the creator of the NFT. That's actually Zach. And we have the picture of the NFT itself. Okay, so last run through of the assets. So this is what you're going to get in the starter files. It's blank. Okay. And then if you notice, you have a new set of code here: link, rel, style sheet, href, styles.css. So this is how you're going to link an external CSS file towards your HTML. So rel is the relationship, is a style sheet, and then href is the link. So here we have styles.css in my file directory, so it can immediately link there. Diba? Next, we also have a copy of the designs. If you want, then we have the active state, we have the desktop design, the mobile design, as well as a desktop preview. Okay. So it's provided, everything's provided for you guys. Okay, let's start copying this. Let's go live. Okay. Okay, it's blank. We're back again to the blank canvas. So first is, since the title is already there, then I'm just going to leave it as is. Okay. So first is I really like to, I don't know, if I can snip this out. I can't. Okay. So I like to see everything as a component of its own, as a container. This one, oh, wrong color. This card is already its own container. There. Another container that I can see is the image, because although it's only an image, you are actually, when you notice, guys, when it hovers, there's an eye. So you're actually having two images in like one container there. And then for this one, this is also another container. But since this is the only container left, I could just not give it a container. Or you can also give it a container, whatever you want. But these are the containers that we're going to work on the entire parent container, and then the card. Okay, going to fast, make it quite okay. Start the code here. First is I'm going to declare a container div, and then so this is the parent container. Next, what I want is an image container because there are two images here, the eye and the NFT. So I'm going to name this. If you want a shortcut for containers, for divs, you could just type dot and then image container. So it immediately creates a div with a class of image container. So tricks. You could like dot, once again, dot, and then container. But yeah, that's the shortcut. Next, I'm going to have two images within this because this is my image container. So image src, I'm going to have the image of the NFT, which is equilibrium, image dash equilibrium. So to do that, from my file, I'm going to backslash, so dot and then backslash to go out of my to go inside another folder, and then go for images slash image equilibrium.png. So there's that. Dot backslash images slash image equilibrium.jpg. Okay, so if you can see, okay, we have the image. Next, we're going also to place a class there so that, okay, we can style this a bit more. I'm going to name the class NFT image para sa yan. And then image of NFT. Okay. Next is another. So because, okay guys, if you notice when I hover this, there's a color behind. So which means this is also another container because I do not want the original, this NFT image to be affected. This image, however, the eye, I want it to have a background which is faded in my CSS. So I'm going to create another div, another container. So this is the view container. Okay. And then I'm going to place an image there again. This time it's icon view.svg. And then the class is view-image. So you could name it whatever you want as long as you can style it in the CSS later. And then alt is image of view icon. So far, so good. We have an entire container for the entire card. We have an image container for the entire two images, the NFT and the eye icon. And then you have another image here for the image. And then you have you have the image container for this. I mean, image container is only for the NFT, and then your view container is for the eye. So basically, separate what I said. You separate your concerns. You separate the eye, which has its own background, which has its own functionality and behavior, from the NFT image through divs. That's very useful. Divs, like, this is probably the most overused element in the world. Okay, divs. Okay, next, we're almost there. Next is this H1. It's okay for it not to be in a container na because this is its own container naman. But of course, you can also place it in a container if that's like for readability, no? So instead of that, so this is the NFT content. Okay. And then I'm going to have an, okay, I'm not going to do that na lang. But you can do this, no? But I'm not going to do that for this one. So H1 for equilibrium, we're going to copy this equilibrium. Equilibrium number 3429. So if you can see here, oh, this one. So here, equilibrium 3429. And then, so as you can see, guys, it's really not looking so good compared to what we want. That's HTML pa lang. And then P, so for the description here, I'm going to give it a class of desk for description. And then our equilibrium, okay, I'm going to copy na this one. Okay, simple lang. Next is an icon. So if you can see here, this one, this is an icon for Ethereum. So another image again for the Ethereum. Okay, and then alt ether. So I'm going to also give this a class of currency icon. And then beside it is a paragraph tag, which is the price of the NFT. So I'm going to call it price. So it's best, guys, if you feel like you have to style that element, just place a class in it. So for this one, I'm going to name it price because that's the price. 0.041 ETH. That's it. And then another image for, okay, let's see now what we're doing. So there, don't worry, guys, we're going to style it. Next is another image for the clock here, if you can see that. So image again, and then, so if you can notice, guys, very repetitive set of actions, adding images, adding paragraphs, adding this, adding that. Diba? Balik-balik. And then, I'm going to place a class in it called clock icon. And then next is 3 days left, which is another paragraph again. So the class for, I'm going to name my paragraph called time, and then 3 days left. And then we can see here we have an underline. So I'm going to have an HR. So HR is horizontal rule. So it just creates an underline. It's not like that's it. It creates a horizontal line in your page. And last but not the least, this part here, another image, very repetitive, guys. Image of my favorite lead, image avatar.png, and then class of creator image. And then alt is image of Zach. All right. So after the image, another paragraph. Okay, diba? Very, very repetitive. And then we'll name it, I don't know, creator. Okay. So creator, creation of. Okay. And then another paragraph. So why am I doing 2 paragraph? That's because this is styled differently. This is also styled differently. So to make it to isolate again, separation of concerns. You isolate, you place classes, and then class creator name, and then that's Jules Wyvern. Okay, so this is what we have. it looks bad, especially this part. Okay, so let's move on to the CSS with Lex. So Lex, are you here?
Yeah.
Okay, so Lex will share his screen and then teach you about CSS as well as how to style this to make it look like this. Okay, so I'm going to stop.
Ini yang ketongkongan ya.
Katong, pwede ra. Saan pag-stop it? Stop share. Yeah, okay, there. Monokai Pro. Wow, hoodie. Gosh. Hacker vibes. That's the real deal right there, guys. Hacker uniform. Okay. Sige, Lex.
Typography is that?
Yeah. Mana.
Okay. Okay, guys. So this will be the thing that we will be making for today. It's just a simple design for the Anya page that Jury created, our wonderful CTO. Yeah. So here we go. So for the CSS, which means we're just gonna style things, we're gonna need, how many things do we need? We need to learn two things. First, everything in your HTML is a box. So let's draw some boxes. This will be important later on once you start the layout. So this one is a box, this one big box, this one is a box, this one is a box, this one is another box, this one is a box. So yeah, everything in your HTML is a box, and you'll need to understand that further since we'll be doing layouting later. But for now, we'll just do the simple stuff, which is text and some, what do you call this, colors. So let's start with that one. So to start, we can create a new file. Let's call it styles.css. We'll be referring to this file for our style sheet. And to link your styles.css to your index.html, just have to put here a link. So link relation style sheet, and then the href is styles.css. Okay, so to confirm that it's already a link, we can do something like, okay, let's select something. Okay, let's select the body. So to select tags or elements in your HTML, you just have to name it with either a tag, a class, or what else? A class, an ID, and that's all three, and attributes. So for now, let's use tag names since they're the most simplest ones. So for body, let's just set the background color to, let's say, blue. Okay, so it's working. Everything is blue. Favorite color, by the way. So to start with, to make it simple, we're gonna start with the text. So to get the text, I'd suggest using this page, Google Fonts. Everything here is open source, so you can use this for free and you have no problems with copyright and stuff like that. So for my font, I'm using Montserrat. There we go, Montserrat. And then select, just gonna choose, let's say, a light 300, since I like this, and a bold, delete, na bold, this one, bold 700. And then since we are gonna need some italics for the EM of jur, we have an italic. We're gonna use this one, bold 700 italic. Okay, so you just have to copy this, the import here. Just click the import and then just copy this, go here, and then paste it. There you have it. You now have a font of Montserrat in your page. So there you go. Okay, so it's still not appearing. We're still using Times New Roman. That's because we have not yet set the general font family of the page to be Montserrat. So for this one, you can also just still go back to the, where the hell is that? This one. So the CSS rules to specify families, just copy this and then paste it here. So now it should work. Okay, there, changed. So now we have a Montserrat font. You can even right click it and inspect, and it says Montserrat. Okay, all good. Now we can also start with the next one, which is the colors, since they're the most simplest ones. To change the color of the background, I've already told about it. It's just background color, and then I place it here. It's very and hex code. You can also change this to either a hex code or an HSL. You just have to click this top part, or this one. I don't know that one. This one is RGB, and again hex color. You can choose either one of those. So now our background changed. Now we can see the fonts. So we also need to change the font color. This one, instead of having a font dash, it's just gonna say color. So color FFFF for white. Then there you go. I think that was pretty simple. Everything is simple so far. So everything is colored. Now you might ask, why did this text change color when I applied it to the body and not to the paragraph tags, the anchor tags, or oh no, the anchor tag was not affected. Okay. So the paragraph tags and the H2 tags. So the reason for that, this one by default has an inherent type of font color. So it's basically color inherit. So color inherit, so it basically inherits everything at the top. So if you go to inspect, you have the color of the paragraph. So it's gonna crawl all the way up to the top until it finds a color that it can inherit from. Sakachi. So I guess, alright. So hashtag FFF para white. So for this one, the link, it is not affected since by default anchor tags does not have a color inherit. So you can also put it here, so it inherits the color white. You can see that. Link to my LinkedIn. Yes. So I guess a follow it in here. Goods, right? Goods. No issues. Nice. Jira. Zuckerman. So now let's try to follow this one, the text transforms and the other colors that we can put on. So for this one should be uppercase. So by rule, you should not put an uppercase on your HTML. You should do that with styling. So for this one, this should not be an uppercase. You can do that by changing its style in the style sheet. So we can select the H1. So H1, then place text transform. It basically transforms the text to either capitalize. Capitalize just means it's in uppercase, the first one, and the rest are lowercase. Then we have also lowercase, everything's lowercase, none, and then uppercase. You can also inherit it or set it back to the initial state. So we're gonna need an uppercase. There you go. It's not an uppercase. You also need this one to be uppercase. It's a P tag. So let's just go with a P. Oh wait, I don't need that. I can do this. No, I'll just do this. Uppercase. Okay, so this is uppercase. However, the problem is this one is also uppercase. And we don't want that. We want it to only have an uppercase up here, but not up here. Since from our design, this one is lowercase and the top is uppercase. So this is where the classes come in. If you want to specifically style a single component, although you can do it with tags, it's just complicated. So if you want to style a specific component, you have to put a class here, which is, let's say, author, blog author. So dot, and in order to select it in your style sheet, you just have to say dot for class names and then the class name itself. dot blog author, text transform, uppercase. Okay. Okay, this one is lowercase, this one is uppercase. Ay, although this one is also put it to uppercase. That one, I guess that's all for the uppercase. Okay, I'll do the forms later. Now we have colors. So this one should be purple and bold. Okay, it's bold. So H1 is bold by default. This one should be bold and purple. So to put it to bold, you just have the font weight and then select bold. There, it's bold. And then since we want this to be white and this one to be purple, we can also put a class here. Or since it's the only EM out of everything here, you can also just select EM. However, by convention, it would be better to just use classes all throughout. So blog author name. Color, what's the color for purple? Okay, so now it's purple, and then the link should be blue. So we have color blue, this one, copy paste. Okay, and it should be bold. Okay, so far so good. Oh, also, as you can see here, this one does not have an underline. By default, anchor tags have underline, and this one has one. Zoom in. There's one underline in the link to my LinkedIn. So we want to remove that. The only thing you need to do is text decoration. Since underlines are decorations, you can do a dash, a dotted, a double, a line through. It's basically a strike through. You also have an overline, which is I believe at the top. We also have a solid, an underline, wavy. I haven't tried wavy. Okay, you can't see the wavy. Okay, so we have an underline, solid, overline, line through, and so on and so forth. Since we want to remove the underline, we have to put it to none. The text decoration none. Okay, that's it. So far, we have completed the top. It's basically the same, minus for the layout. And then for the bottom, it's almost there. It's just a bit more styling. So for this one, what is the episode about? This one should be blue. Blog content, H2. So, okay, so there are two ways you can select styles. You can select elements. So it can either be a class or you can also use descendants. We call descendant. So let's say that this one, we only want to style everything that is inside blog content that is an element of H2. So to do that, you can do dot blog content. So you select the entire blog content and then followed by the element you want to select inside of dot blog content, which is H2. This way, you only select the H2 inside of this blog content. So you can put a font color here of blue. There you go. And let's say we have multiple H2s in our page. Let's change this to an H2. Should break it. Okay. If you don't do this, you're styling every H2 on the page. If you do this, you put a dot blog content, so basically styling only inside the context of blog content, then it only selects that part. Okay. Let's put this back to H1. Okay. Next, we have, what else do we need? Okay, this one needs layout. Okay, font sizes. So mostly typography. So for font size, you can use this font size 32 pixels, 64 pixels. Okay, So you can either use measurements in pixels or EM. Oh my god, it's so big. Okay, EM basically stands for, I forgot what it means, but it basically takes the default browser size. So let's say by default your browser has a conversion of 1 pix is equals to 16, I mean 1 pix. 1 EM is equals to 16 pix. So this one, typing an EM basically scales from this one. Then, so if you have 2 EM, you have 32 pixels. So why is that good? Since sometimes some old people needs to see their stuff clearly, and sometimes they change this conversion rate to like 32 pix, so that everything that they see is large, very large. So that's why you use EM, so that your page scales with what the user wants, basically. So for font size, as much as possible, you can use 2 EM. I use EM measurements. So I use 2 EM for the H1, and also use 3 mm. I'm gonna go with, wait, let me see the style again. It should be around, give or take, 1.75. And then we have this one, the blog author, to be around the font size of 1 EM. Okay, maybe smaller. Okay, even smaller. Okay, that's too small. 0.7. And then for the A tag, you also have a font size of 0.7. Oh no. Okay, I think that's good. This one is small, this one is big. Okay, for this one, we're also gonna change this. So we can select that by saying blog content P, font size. Oh yeah. Okay, smaller, smaller. Okay. 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 I think that's it for typography. We'll do the forms later. Okay, so any questions so far or goods ka Modura? Maybe nakaka-ano.
Okay. Any questions, guys?
Jira, Valora, nice ra.
Mhm.
Alright.
It-
Okay. If I'm pacing too fast, you can always ping me or some shit.
Yeah. If it's too fast, guys, please chat lang, no? So we'll pause, of course, we'll pause for you, no matter who you are. Oh, sure. Yeah, so please chat lang, guys. Sige, Rex.
Okay, all good, sir. What else? Okay, so I think all goods for text, and then we can work on this afterwards. Okay, we can also just work on it now. Okay, so for the fields, okay, let's just work on the fields. It's gonna be simple. I need to pick it up. Oh, I can move it in there. God. Okay, we're gonna hide this up. It's getting annoying, this one. Okay. So for the fields, our goal is to only show the border and not have any background. So basically the background is transparent and only have a border. So we can select all fields by just saying its tag name. So input, background is none. And then the border is, I'm just gonna go with the, I'm not gonna go with the shortcut first. Border width, 1 pix, border color, black. No, I want white. Preferably select the hex code, then border size, border width, border color, border type, your style. Solid. Okay. So basically, the border width specifies how thick the border is, the border color of the border, and then the border style is just whether you want it solid, dotted. What else? What else do we have? Blue. What else? Blue. Hidden, inset, ridge, and so on. But so far, most of the times you're just gonna use solid. So we can also make it a bit thicker. So 2 pixels, if you want that, but I prefer it to be 1 pixel. 1 pixel. Background none. Let's just turn the background to none. Okay, next. As you can see, our borders basically have this curve around them. And to do that, you just have to set a border radius of, let's say, 8 pixels. Okay, that's too much. 4 pixels. Okay, so we have this one, a nice border radius. So for this one, there's a shorthand for this one. Instead of writing all of this, you can write border, the width, then the style, and then the color. That way you don't have to write all of these and remember that you need to have a width, a color, style. Just write border, set the width, set the style, and set the color. I believe you can put this interchangeably, or am I mistaken? Yeah, doesn't need to be in the same orientation. Okay, that's it. We now have a border. The text area is not included, but I think we can just do this. Okay, magic. So you can also put a comma. You can select multiple elements at once, and then you can style them all together at the same time. So you have an input, you have a text area. Okay. Next, we have label. We're just gonna set the font size to a bit smaller font size. Just UCM. Everything's repetitive here. Let's say 7. 7 should be good. What else? Okay. So these are radio buttons. This one and that. Okay. So the label is now in the same size. It's a good size. I put the input here. This should be, what font is this? Okay, it's looking like a different font. I think you need to set the font family here to inherit, and then the font, yeah, okay, that's it. Since just like the anchor tags, the fields do not inherit from anything, they have their own font family by default. So you have to set it to inherit if you want to make sure that everything in your page is basically uniform. So now we can also, I believe you can also change the size. Okay, we'll do that in the layout thing, changing of sizes. Okay, everything's good so far. Submit button needs to have a color of blue. A text transform. Okay, so submit button. What is used for submit? Okay, so basically you can do a class here, like submit button. You can also use the selector tag, like you select the form and then the input, this one. Or you can also do something like attribute selectors. So you have an input and you set the type. So basically you're selecting an input and then you're selecting from their attributes. All of these are attributes. So if you want to select the submit button, you have to select the type which is equal to submit. You just have here type is equals to submit. Okay, then we set a background color of blue. What's my blue? Okay, and then the text transform should be uppercase, and then font weight, low, if you want it bold, and then you don't get to have any borders. Okay. Okay. Now there seems to be a problem. This one is a bit okay. It's not that it's big. Wait. I haven't set the font size. Okay, around 1 em. Okay, it's too big. 0.5. That's too small. 0.7. I think 0. Yeah. 0.7 should be good. Okay, so 0.7 is good, but it is too close to its container. We want it to be far from it. So this is where the concept of padding, margins, and so on comes in. So what's the difference between a margin and a padding? So let's say you have an element. No. Okay. Let's say you have an element. This is your element, and you have a content. So this is your content. So the padding is the space from your content. Wait, change color. From your content and the container. So that's the padding. The margin is the space between two elements. Sometimes people mistake using padding to space between elements, when instead they should be using a margin, and sometimes people use margin instead of a padding. So you have to keep in mind when to use which is which. So for this one, we're just gonna add a padding. Want a padding top of 5 pixels and a padding bottom of 5 pixels. Okay, 16 pixels. We also want to put a padding right of 16 pixels, padding left of 16 pixels. Okay, that's too big. Set the top to 8 and then the bottom to 8. Okay, I think that should be okay. That should be good. So just like the border, we also have a shorthand for padding. It's this one. Padding. First value is the top, and then the right, and then the bottom, and then the left. You can remove this, just the one. Yeah. This one is the top. So this one is top, right, bottom, left. Okay. So you have the padding. You can also simplify this further. There's another shorthand which is x-axis and no, it's y-axis and x-axis. Or basically this one is top and bottom, and this one is right left. So you can remove these two values and it should still work. So the top is 8 pixels, the bottom is 8 pixels, and the right and left is 16 pixels. Okay, should be it. You can also immediately pixels. Okay. So bigger padding for the right and left. Okay, so that's it for the forms. Now we need to start with the layout. Okay, to start with the layout, we're gonna start using Flexbox, since it's the most simplest one. Okay. I think that's better. Should be better to just use. Yeah, okay. Okay, so far so good. Let's resize the image first since it's occupying too much of the page. You can select the image with 150 pixels. So just specify the width. Okay, now we can see everything a lot better. This one also works. So basically what it's doing is it's setting the width of the image to be the same as the width of your browser. So view widths basically mean 100% of your view width. View width is this one, the width of your browser, and then it's just setting the width of the image to that one. Okay, so we have a space here. We're gonna tackle that problem later. For now, let's arrange all of this. So for H1, the problem seems to be a margin. Yep. The orange bars are basically the margin. The blue box is basically the content. This one does not have a margin. This one also. This one has a margin. So this is where the concept of resets come in, since it's just a pain styling everything, since they have default values and you want to reset everything so that it's just a lot more easier to work with all of them. So you can select everything with the start selector. It's basically a wildcard that means every element inside your HTML will be applied to this tab. So we want to remove all margins and then the paddings. Okay, now everything is closed. But as you can see, even if we set this padding to 0, we also set a padding here. So why was it not reset then? So the reason is the way your CSS is executed is from top to bottom. It's a lot more complex than that, but it's from top to bottom. So this one is set first. However, it gets changed when it reaches here. So the padding still remains on the bottom. So you just have to keep that in mind as well. So for now, everything has 0 margin, 0 padding. Okay, so let's put a body margin of 90. Now let's put it in a container. Okay. Okay, for the header, let's select the header. We want it to have a width of 90 view width. Inspect. Should really just wait. Not that. This one. Okay. Now you can see that if this one was not present, okay, I refresh. It takes up the whole screen from this to this. It's a blue box. But if this is present, it's only occupying 90% of the view width. So there's a gap here, which is the 10%. Now we want it centered, so we will use margin auto. So if you just want everything to be centered, you just use margin auto and everything is fixed. So the width is 90 view width, the margin is auto, everything is good. Nice. So for the header, we're not going to change a lot of things from the header. Now we want to add some spacing between elements. So this is where margin and padding comes in. So we have margin here. Well, just a bit of margin. So for the H1, let's put a margin top of 16 pixels. Oh, no, that's the H1. We want it at the blog author. Margin top of 16 pixels. That's too much spacing between the H1 and the paragraph tag. We're gonna decrease it to around 8 pixels. Yeah, no, 4 pixels. 3 pixels. No, 4 pixels. Okay, 4 pixels. And then we also want to add a space between this one and the anchor tag. You can choose two things. You can either style the spacing on the H1 or this one, or you can style it on this one. So for blog author, we're going to use a margin top. We're also going to style it on the anchor tag, since I prefer using margin top for all my elements. 16 pixels. It's not working. So, okay, if it doesn't work, then we're going to put it in the blog author. Margin bottom. Okay, so now there's spacing between the paragraph tag and the anchor tag. You can increase it further, 32 pixels, and everything's good. Okay, now we want also spacing between the image and this anchor tag. So we'll go to the image, add a margin top of 16 pixels. Okay, it should be good. This one. Okay, I think I need more spacing. We also need spacing between this one and the top. So H1, margin top, 16 pix. Okay, and then we're gonna decrease the view width to 85. So we want a bit more spacing between this part of the container and the content. Okay, we'll fix this later. Should be an easy fix at that one. Okay, next we have this one. What was the episode about? We're gonna select the container, blog content, do the same stuff, which is add a width and margin. So for this one, you can also comma blog content. No, it's a class, not blog content. I should apply. Okay, so we also have a footer, contact me, and comma dot contact. Okay. Yeah, trial and error is the key for CSS since it's just tough. It's just the toughest part of front end. So we have blog content and contact me. If you feel like everything here, this one is growing, like there are a lot of styles that's being, there are a lot of elements that are sharing the same style. Instead of using commas, just use a class since it will save you a lot of headache and can be easier to debug. So let's just say this is a container dot container. Then we're just gonna add the container class to everything. So container here, and then we also want it in the header. Okay, now it's not working. Whoa, magic. That's actually working. Actually, container. What's not working? Why? Okay. CSS hates me right now. Why? What did I do? Why it's not working? Okay. Huh, what? Okay. If it doesn't work, stop the live server and open it again. Okay, now it works. Okay, now let's add container again. Okay, then add it here, dot container. Okay, now it works. Okay, so if you've ever come at a situation where your styles are not applying, just reset the live server. Sometimes it does not update. So now you have this. Okay, want some spacing here. Yep. Restart always fixes everything. Okay, what else is the problem? Okay, we're done with this. We're done with this. This one. I think this one, the text for that one is too big. We're gonna adjust that. We want also spacing between the image and this one. Okay. So for this one, dot blog content. Just done for this one. Okay, this one is dot blog content. So for the dot blog content, we want spacing between this one and the image. So we're gonna put a margin top. I don't know, 16 pix. And then since the header is too big, we're gonna try to change it to around 2 em. Okay, that's very big. 1 em. Oh, that should work. Okay. The paragraph tag is also too big. We're gonna try to adjust it to around 0.6 or 0.75. Okay. We also want to put spacing between these two, so margin top, 16 pix. Okay, very repetitive. Margin top 8 pix. And then we want spacing between this one and this one, the form. You can put that in the blog content, margin bottom. Okay, you can also shorthand this. Same thing, 16 pix for the top and bottom, and 0 for the right and left. That way your code is a lot more cleaner. Okay, now it's broken again. Damn. Okay. So it's now in the center because of bottom. Okay, next one. This one. Okay, this one needs layout. This one's good. Everything is good so far. Don't need that since it's style change. Okay, so we also have a divider. You can do two things here. You can add a real divider, like an HR, this one. Okay, now you have a divider. Or you can emulate a divider by putting a border at the bottom of the blog content. So you can do a border bottom, unpick solid white. Okay, now you have a divider, and we want to space this divider from the rest of the content. Now you can use a margin bottom. Oh no, you can't use a margin bottom. So it's basically the space between this element and the container. So you should be using padding. Padding bottom. Whoops. Padding bottom 16 pixels. Okay. So now there's a space between the container and the element. You can make it a little bit bigger, 32 pixels. That also works. Okay, that's it. So far, so good. Top is good. Now we need to deal with the forms. Now the forms is gonna take a little bit more time. So we have a label and an input. So you have this one. Okay. So there might be a bit of adjustments for this part. Okay. So it's gonna take some time. So if you have any questions for now, you can just ask it right now. If not, if you don't have any questions yet, you can ask it later. How to justify the input fields like name, input, not. Is that possible? That name, that the semicolon would go to the last? I haven't tried that. I think you'll have to use a div for that one. The only thing I can think of is you have a name, right? So you have a label. You put this one into a span, this one, and then you apply a flexbox later on. Okay, we will discuss flexbox later on. But for now, uh, let's go with a normal one where it's not justified. What else? Any more questions? No props. Okay, the way I see this can either be a flexbox or a grid. Should I go with if I go with flexbox? Okay.
Pwede ra flex Lex kay para sa card for 'di ba NFT card is flex.
Oh yeah. We use it.
Pwede ra flex.
Oh yeah. If flex na tanan.
Sige.
Okay, flexbox it is. Okay, so any more questions? If none, you can go with the forms. Okay. Going second. Going twice. Going thrice. No more. Sold. Okay. So for this one, the way I see this is a different component that contains a label and a field. This one is also another component that contains an email, the label and the field. That should be password. And this one is another one, same stuff. It's all boxes, and then the text area, the date, and so on. So for the flex box, basically a flex box is just a way to lay out your page. You see it soon. Okay, so it's basically like a column or a row. You can choose either one. So you can lay out all of your elements in a column or in a row. You can also space them out, you space them evenly. You can put everything at the end, at the start, and so on. Okay, so we'll see the commands, but first let's modify this. We're gonna add a div here. Put it there. And then we're gonna put a class here like input field. Okay. So here as well, we're gonna add a div. Oops. And then what else? Don't need a div for the radio. Nothing in the radio. Do I need a div? Okay, let's just put a div for the radio. For the radio buttons, we have a div here. We're gonna put an input field still. Okay, what else? The text area should be fine on its own, and the date should be fine on its own. The subnet as well. Okay, so now we're just adding the label and the input inside one container so we can style them together. So we can lay out them. Okay, so for this one, you can do a, what was that? You can select the input field. Okay, and then say display flex direction. Okay, so what happened? Okay, wait, I don't think I'll put this one first, since this might need a different Flexbox. Okay, just like that. Okay, for the input field, we have a display flex direction column. So basically what's happening is it's turned into a Flexbox. Now you set the direction to column. So now it's arranged every element inside of input field. So the label and the text are arranged like a column. If you were to put here row, which is the default, it's gonna get arranged like a row. That's it. So now we have a field, a label and a field. That's it. We have laid this up. So now we're gonna adjust it a little bit. We're gonna add a padding since our text fields are too small. And then we're gonna add a margin between the label and the field. So margin bottom here, 2 pixels, 4 pixels, 4 pixels. Margin bottom 4 pixels, and then the input field, not the input field. The input should be, where is the input? Padding. This one. Padding. Let's just go for 4 pixels top and bottom, 8 pixels left and right. Okay, that's too big, so we're gonna put a font size of around 0.75 em. Yeah, a little bit smaller. 0.6 em. Okay. Okay. Now we want to space this input field, this one, and this input field. So now they're both divs, they're both input field. If you want to select one of them, you're gonna be selecting the other. You can also do something like, you can fix this in 2 ways. So you can say this one is name field, and this one is the password field. Or you can just not name this. So for the name field, you want to put a margin bottom, of 12 pixels. That should work. But if you want to have, if you want to lessen the amount of classes inside of this place, you can do something like another kind of selector, which is dot input field plus, this one is the adjacent sibling selector. Okay, that's quite complicated, but I'll discuss it today. So margin top 16 pixels. So what it basically means, the adjacent sibling basically means that if you were to do JavaScript soon, this one is a parent element, the form is a parent element, and this one are children element. And these children elements basically have siblings, which is these one are siblings, this one is a sibling of this one, and so on and so forth. And these siblings can also have their own children. So what's happening is, when you say adjacent sibling selector, you're basically selecting the sibling, the adjacent sibling of this element. So when you select the adjacent sibling, it's basically the next element to that one, which also has a class of input field. So this one, we are selecting the dot input field, and then we're selecting the next sibling that it has that is also a class of input field. Okay, if you were confused by the explanation, just think of siblings. So next sibling, and you're just selecting the next sibling. Okay, so that's it. So now you have an input field and then the input field. So you're styling this input field, and then you're adding a margin top of 16 pixels. So this one has a margin top of 16 pixels. So now they're both spaced. So you have 8 pix. That also works. I'll go with 12 pix. This it looks good. Okay. Next, we need to lay out this one as well. I think this one's the wrong div. It should be a div slash div. Oh no. Okay, remove the break. Okay. Wait. Okay. And then we're gonna put another bigger div. We're gonna store both. Let's see. So we're gonna put a class here, which is the radio field. Now we're just gonna do the same thing. We're gonna add a Flexbox so that they are all arranged in a row. Field. No, that's not display. That should be flex. Display flex. Okay. Now I think this is a good time to discuss justify content and align items. To justify content, okay, let's just try centering it. Okay. So you just have to mix and match justify content, since I did not memorize which axis is which, since you don't really need to memorize it. But if it's a row, when you're justifying content, you're moving it through this row, through the row. If you're aligning the items, let's say align items, center, you can also do a flex end. I don't think you will be able to see it though. Okay, you won't be able to see it. I think we can do a height here, just to showcase how it looks. Okay, and then we're gonna add a color. Okay, just don't mind these styles for now. It's just for showcasing. So basically, align items, flex end, just aligns all of the items to the end of the container. You can also do a center. Okay, so the center of the container, flex start, the start of the container. You also have different ones, which is stretch, which basically stretches all the elements to the size of the container. Like this one is stretched. It's basically filling up the entire container and matching its width to it. So next, if we also dabble with justify content, we also have the same things, which is center, align it here, and then flex end, flex start. You basically have to just double around with this one, since it's a bit confusing as at the start, which is the axis for the justify content and which is the axis for the align items. If you were to change the direction, you also have a different way. Justify content and align items basically acts differently. So let's say we have justify content center. It's now centering the elements in this like a column, in the column axis, and align items now aligns the items in the row axis. So let's say flex end, and it's gonna place all the items here. That's it. But if you remove the column, then the justify content is basically applying it in the row and the flex end at the column. Okay, so now that we're done with that, we're gonna do something else. We want to space these ones so that the very good is at this side and the bad is at this side. To do that, you can do a justify content. That's not flex end, that should be space between. Space between basically puts a space between all elements. space around, puts a space, evenly spaces the elements, and wraps a space around them. So that's basically the difference. So space around has a space here and here. Space between does not have any space. You can also use gap, yeah. If you use gap, you have a fix. You can also go for the affix. You can also specify if you want it to be column or row gap. Okay. But I prefer using justify content. Space. Okay, so next we have this. Okay, so far so good. Okay, now you can also do this, wrap them with divs and so on and so forth, but it would be best to just add a display flex on the bigger div. So the form, we should style the form and then add a display flex. Okay, everything's broken now. Nice. The reason it's broken is because flex is row by default. And if you put flex direction, column, boom, voila, everything is laid out nice and perfect. Okay, I think that's it. Wait, what else? What else do we need to start? Okay, the label is bold. They're not uppercase. Okay. Well, deep text. Okay. Okay, what was it? Okay, so far so good. So works. Okay. Display flex works. Everything works. So works. Okay, let's just edit the label. Font weight, bold. Okay. Then there you have it. You have everything you need for good or styling. So you have display flex. You can now style the colors of text, background colors, so on and so forth. Add text transforms. Oh yeah, we need to fix this. So what's happening is, as you can see here, we want the picture, the image, to be from here to here, and there are no gaps. This one has a gap. This one, you'll need to put this outside of the header container. Since right now it's inside the header container, so it has to abide by the rules. You can see that by adding this one. Border. This is how I debug my CSS. I just add a border so you can see everything. Every element has their widths and heights, so on, and their layout. So basically what's happening is it's abiding to the rules of the header when we want it to abide to the rules of the body. So we need to move it outside of the header so that it becomes a child of the body. So there you go. Let's move, and it shifts to the left. Okay, that's it. Save that, and everything looks good. Okay, I think that's it. That's really it. What? Oh, nice. So,
Okay,
any
okay.
questions? How do you add padding in the input fields of the name and the password, and also for the text field? Add a padding in the input fields. You mean this one? Like inside of this field? Okay. So you just go here. Okay, I'll just put it here. So you have an input. Select the input tab, and then add a padding. I'll just use the shorthand. So I want a 16 pix for the top, and then 32 pix for the left and right. So now I have a 16 pix at the top and the bottom, and then the left and right is 32 pix. Okay. What else? What's that? Okay. Oh, you can.
Hey, questions, guys.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
we showcase ang
address na
gap.
to. Um, Any questions, guys? So I think it's a lot of information to take in, especially for CSS.
Yeah, it's
But
just a
of
lot.
course, we're going to send the code. So Lex, karang maka-upload ka sa G Drive lang.
Okay. Okay. Send me sa G-Drive.
And then, okay, so let's talk about the card. Because we'd like to also style the card, but we don't have time. Styling the card is similar. Like probably all commands on the card is similar to how you're going to style this, what Lex is doing with the blog, except for the hover. Like, can you show Lex
Oh
how
yeah.
to hover? Like sa button lang.
Okay, so button. So let's
Uh,
say for this one, you want to change the cursor when you hover to this one. So we basically have a pseudo selector. That's what you call them. So you just put a semicolon and then select hover. So that when you hover, this will be the styles that will be applied to the button. So let's just say you want a cursor to be, okay, progress. So now my cursor is now a loading button, a loading cursor when you hover over the submit. And it's not, you can also do a pointer. Okay, it's not a pointer. Nothing. You can see that. You can also change the color, background color to red. Okay, that's it for the hover state basically. Right, nothing else right now. Okay, so someone who's also new to web dev, CSS units always confuse me. View width, view height, percent, px, cm, rem, etc. When I usually use these units, and does it matter which ones I use? It doesn't really matter. It's just more of what you need to use at the correct time. Okay, so it does matter. So for the font size, so for the font sizes, I would suggest, okay, let's just type it here. For font sizes, use EM and REM. The difference between an EM and a REM is not that, it's a bit complicated. So the REM is the root EM. So it takes in the conversion. Let's say the conversion was 16 pix, right? For the previous example. So it takes the conversion of the browser of 1 pix to 16 pix, and it does not get modified. By modified, I mean if you have a body that has a 1 EM, and then you have a H1 that has 2 EM. So now you have, I believe it scales, like it's 1 times 2, then times the conversion of 16 pix. So now you have a 32 pix. So if this one was 2 EM, then it gets multiplied as well, so 2 times 2 times 16 pix. So that's the difference between an EM and a REM. So next one, we have the percentages. Pix, view width and view height. View width and view height, just use it for the width and the height. That's basically most of the view width and view height. Although for buttons, okay, I'm gonna show a trick. So for input, for buttons, this one, let's say you want a, let's say, where was that? You want this to be rounded, very round. So the bad, no, that's not bad. Where did I put the border ranges? It's input. Okay, for pix. I want it rounded. So you might say you will use 15%. Now it's a circle. Now you can do something like 125 pix. Now you have it rounded, and that's what I want. However, let's go for the smallest one, 30 pix. No, 60 pix. Okay, 16 pix. Let's say I increase the size of this one, of the input to around, let's say, height 100 pix. Okay, it's no longer rounded. When I want it to be round, it's only rounded at this point. So a trick would be to use a view width. So it always takes, since view width does not work like the percentages, So it always keeps this capsule shape whenever the height changes, basically. So that's one use of view width outside of width and height that I can think of. Other than that, view height, yeah, okay. Just for the height, same with the view width. For the percentages and picks, still with the width and height, and the margin and the padding. Okay, any more questions? I feel like the hardest part of web dev is always styling.
Yeah, JavaScript is easy. CSS is the most difficult one. Okay, maka-reset ka ato tanan Lex.
For the
Yeah.
this one. Yeah, forgot.
So para ma-upload na to. Sa ganito ang picture na wala na gap. So since the picture a while ago inherits from the header, you remove it from the header so that it inherits from the body.
Yes.
That wala na siya gap.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Inherit. Yeah, so the child elements always inherit from the parent elements on whatever their style is.
Yeah. Unless if inherited parent elements, so it's just gonna crawl through everything.
Margin is for space. Yep.
Yep. So margin is spacing between elements. This one and this one, and the padding is the space between the container and its elements.
Sir. Okay. Okay, so we're going to talk about the challenge. No? Challenge. Sige. So you've seen a while ago for the card. We'd like you to. Sorry, i-paired and Zach. Okay, you can work. It's allowed to work by pair. You can submit like duo mo, or you could submit by your own. So recreate the card. It's okay good as long as like dili siya, as long as it looks like the card. Okay, it's okay if it's not really pixel perfect. Yeah, that's the term. It's okay if it's not pixel perfect. You could also modify like you you can modify it to how you want it. You can change the picture, you can change the content, you could make it like a business card, for example. You're going to base your styles from the blog site that Lex had styled, the one that he is demoing today.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the challenge. We're going to post your submissions before the JavaScript study jams. So JavaScript is to add behavior to your website. Like when a user clicks on the button, what will happen? Diba? If di ko sugton, what will happen? Like that's the behavior of the website. Yeah, alone always. So JavaScript is the logic. Now that's programming na jud. That's already programming. Okay, so Lex is like doing final touches pa. So any questions, guys? So we have a Kato challenge. You can asa na to ipa-upload, Zach? Discord. Yeah. So once again, these are the ay sorry na PM ra. Okay, so these are the links. We have the blog site HTML only and the NFT that I created earlier, HTML only. So it's already CSS na lang yun, guys. CSS na lang. You style it with the CSS. The style guide is also there on what colors. So it also depends on you, no? You want it pink, you want it red, you want it blue. It's okay. Lex will upload the full blog site layout with the CSS and HTML.
Okay.
Okay, so any questions ba guys? Cash prize? Why cash prize? I love why Jordan dia. Date
Okay.
daw.
Date though.
Okay. So you guys know you can work by pair. Like you can PM anyone in the Discord, no? Like just hey, wanna like you want to
Wanna
kanang
hang out?
you you want to be partners for the project? Okay. 'Di ba? You want to or you can do it solo, 'di ba? VS Code and chill. Okay. Lex, nag-upload
That's how they drive.
Yeah,
HTML.
i-upload lang sa imuhang naki personal email,
Oh, okay.
personal lang, personal.
Okay, okay.
And then send the link here as well. Ako sa Discord. Okay, laing questions pa? Yeah, like we're open to questions pa guys. So you can play with the styles, you can change the margins, you can change the padding. Like that's how you would really learn. And then you could also add the border, like what Lex did to the entire element, entire gun, para you would see how it affects the page. Or you could inspect, right click, inspect element, di ba? Where can we find the Discord link? Discord. Oh, wait. Are you part? Yeah. Okay. Any questions pa ba, guys? So we're going to for this like series of study jams, the final project would be like a full HTML, CSS, and JavaScript like movie booking application. It's quite simple lang, nothing really like it's not the actual more click the city na movie booking. So very simple movie booking application where you can really see how these three technologies work together in creating websites, diba? Then sneak peek for November. If we won't die from academics, we will um, hold React. Oh, so React is a JavaScript framework, JavaScript library to build front-end application. That's already industry standard. Like no, just knowing React could actually get you a job. And then after that, if dili gyapon may mapatay sa academics, we're going to be holding Next.js or maybe Firebase to make your application full stack. And yeah, so I hope you're excited, guys. Road to full stack dev this year, di ba? Yeah, road to employment. Sige.
Fine.
If you're also like na misconception na yeah, IT, coding, all coding. Nope. you could go UI UX like what Lex did, the one yung like makakuan ka to Lex. Yeah, so that's an example of a UI UX wireframe. So you could really good UI UX designers are really rare to find, and yeah, that's already like a good wireframe. Naman. And then you also have project management, which we will have October, Zach. Yep. Yeah. So more siya guys, like it's not all about coding, no? If you're like coding na po. Nah. There's a lot more to this industry than what you really think. Okay. Any other questions pa ba? Like about HTML, CSS
Dito mo tag suggestions
for
sa atong mga wala na cover na topics.
yeah. Nato sa kwan. So, we recommend also references. Stack Overflow. W3 school. W3 schools. Like a lot of HTML and CSS documentation is in W3 schools. And then for practice, I recommend Front End Mentor. So we're going to send it na lang po in the Discord, the references. But okay. You could also have Front End Mentor. You could do prompts there and improve your skill in HTML and CSS. Yeah. So that's where we also get our layouts. Okay, yeah, there's also free code camp, but their tutorials are really long and tedious. So unless you're really committed to that, front end, yeah. So there's no other way than to do it, guys. Like you could watch a million tutorials, but if you don't do it, then it won't happen. Diba? You miss all the shots you don't take. Wow.
Wow. My new motto in life.
Pinanggawas naman ang mga nanggawa mura manig gatagay. All right.
Okay, lapas na.
Sorry. Okay, no? So card so run balik lang ta summary for the challenge. That's before submissions are accepted, before I think I'll say next week. 15. Okay. October 15 basic JS. October 22 is advanced JS. October 29 is the final project where we combine HTML, CSS, and JS. For your project, dili ni siya required guys no. Grabe, dili pud mi inana nga kung ano. This is not required. You're still part of GDSC. Pero I really recommend doing the project for you to learn, because HTML and CSS is a really important factor in web development. So that's before October 15. On or before October 15, we're going to accept submissions and post them and feature them in the page. So yeah. Sige, any questions, guys? We're going to end by 9:35. We're going to stay here lang siguro to watch at Zach. You guys. Ay, naka. Yeah, okay. Nagsugo nag-post. Okay. So guys, thank you, Day. Thank you for attending today's workshop, and I hope you learned a lot. Um, of course, it's I'm not asking for something impossible now. You have to, especially for those who are beginning, just to write HTML CSS. Like I'm not asking for you guys to immediately take in everything. So which is why we're also sending the code for you to have a guide on how to approach. So it doesn't have to be exactly like the card that you are given here. Just do it based on what you understand, based on what you have searched, based on what you can really do. As long as you're trying, then progress is increasing. Wow. God damn. Okay. Diba? Like every day, guys, small progress every day, like 50 lines per day. Sige, ano tayong ko ano. So, unsa pa man ang probably maka-search ka kuan Lex since naka-share screen ka. Front end roadmap roadmap.sh like not ko yeah, then go front end. Okay, so that's like a really like that's the guide. If you can probably have a lot of those skills na, then you could be front end dev. So HTML, CSS, so the basics, semantics, forms and validations, best practices, CSS, so the basics, layouts, display, flexbox, grid. So you could base your references there on how to move forward. And then also JS, you also have the other things down. No? Yeah, so there's that's a lot. So of course ayaw ninyo i-take in sa tanan guys, no? Little by little. Okay. We also have the evaluation form on the chat. Please evaluate us. Please duck. Okay. Okay. Yes. Pwede pa send sa link. Okay. Uy, nara. Shout out Wayne. Boss Idol. Mga taga CPAC dre. Tanika. Tanika Marie. Shout out. GC. Shout out. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to our sponsors. Resource World Manila. And salamat. Okay, if we click this, can go to Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is a game. One time one. Kalit lang ba? Okay, May. Nasa May. Paul Jantoral. Right. Sa day. Bitaw. Yeah. Pudluan. Sa vulgar may kasako ang location dan. Homeschool kay online class man. Homeschool tanan eh. Oxford University, Talisay. MIT, Mambaling Institute of Technology. Right. Okay. Last 2 minutes of kwan before I end the meeting. Again, evaluation forms. Sa katong wala pa guys. Dako niyo. Asa to Zach? Baka resend ka. Kapag scroll up eh. Dara. Ay, photo op. Bitaw. Documentation na to. Sige. So guys, I hope you're excited for next JavaScript is the language of the web. Understanding it, you basically understand websites na. Okay. Okay, picture is up.
I got it, sir. Of course. Okay.
Grabe.
Okay.
Director.
Oh, natanan. Isa naman naka-page, so like, yeah. Okay. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay na. Asa na lang other post.
Ana.
Ako ang 49 na participants akong kuan panel. Saan man ako? Okay, 1, 2, 3,
Gawin ng tiil. Tiil.
Smile. Okay na. Okay na, guys.
Thank you kayo guys for attending. Wala. Hindi kumatay sa meeting eh. $15. Okay. So I think that's it, guys. No. So thank you once again for attending and adios.